and welcome back to the most amazing channel on the internet, Certified. I am your host Rebecca Felgate, and today we're talking about the top 10 scary parallel universe theories. Now, a lot of people believe that there are parallel universes out there, and actually we're just living in one of many. Actually all of these theories are pretty mind-melty, so you may want to arrange a nap afterwards. Before I get into this video, I want to ask you guys if you believe in a parallel universe. Do you think we're living in the Matrix? Let me know. If you do believe in parallel universes, do you think we can ever travel to another? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Also, do be sure to leave a thumbs up on this video and share it with a friend, and check out the links to our most amazing Instagrams in the description box. Stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to be reading out some comments. Alright, coming in at number 10 we have the simulation hypothesis / the Matrix theory. It seems that our mate Elon Musk believes that we could be living in a simulated universe. Of course he does. He said that there is a 1,000,000,000 chance that we are living in a base reality. 1,000,000,000 to 1. Really? Now the theory seems to suggest that actually we're living in a computer simulation just like in the Matrix. Word on the street at the New Yorker is that actually right now there are 2 tech billionaires secretly engaging scientists to work on breaking us out of the simulation as we speak. So, who is running this simulation? Apparently it is a post-human civilization. The long and short of the majority of the theories is that computers have already taken over and they're keeping us living in a simulation out of the way. Why isn't it a perfect utopia? Well, that just wouldn't be believable, would it? Or would it? I don't know, where's the evidence here? Well, amongst other slightly crazy suggestions, some say that the universe is a simulation because it seems to behave mathematically and is broken up into pieces, subatomic particles, like a pixelated video game. I don't know, I'm not so sure. Coming in at number 9, I do believe in this, we have deja vu. What is deja vu? Is it a glitch in the Matrix like Morpheus claimed, or is it a lived moment from our parallel lives, or is it some other kind of brain phenomenon that we just don't know too much about yet? According to Dr. Michio Kaku, an American futurist, deja vu occurs as a result of a person's ability to flip between universes. Others believe it's because we're vibrating in unison with the frequency of another universe that's parallel with our own. Mind melt. I actually really enjoy Dr. Kaku's Twitter. He posts thought-provoking science riddles, plus his profile picture is golden. Coming in at number 8, we have the Large Hadron Collider is a time machine. Like, is it? The Large Hadron Collider is a 17-mile-long supermachine that smashes particles together at nearing light speed. Now the machine is based in Switzerland, and there has been a lot of suspicion and speculation about it. Some people think it is possible for the machine to create microscopic black holes. Others say it makes time travel possible. There is an absolutely wild theory out there that an experiment at the Large Hadron Collider caused an Iberworld Airbus A330-300 to land 5,500 miles away from its intended location, and it caused a power outage across South America. An article on the website Freedom Fighter Times claimed the power released from the LHC was so strong that it sent a time warp across the planet. Honestly, I'm not sure if I'm here for that, also lol at the title of their publication, but others do suggest that the LHC can create conditions that allow matter and radiation to travel backwards and forwards in time. A lot of credible science articles have written of the possibility of creating a wormhole. Now this invites all kinds of drama via the grandfather paradox. If you travel back in time and kill your grandfather, does that mean that in the future you don't exist? Or does it create a parallel universe of alternative outcomes? Coming into number 7, we have what is at the end of a black hole. Recently we got our first ever picture of a black hole. Our knowledge on black holes is still a little sketchy. We only have what we've observed, and what we have observed has been pretty damn far away. We know that black holes are very dense and that they exhibit such strong gravitational pulls on all things that nothing can escape their draws, not even the fastest moving particles we know, light. What happens to the particles once they're drawn inside the black hole? Well, we don't actually know. One theory is that the black hole is a portal to a different part of space. It's a parallel universe, if you will. Now, towards the end of his life, the late great Stephen Hawking was actually working on a theory of multiverses that included black holes. He alluded to the possibility of a black hole spilling its matter out into a separate place in space-time, a new universe maybe. He said the hole would need to be large, and if it was rotating, it might be a passage to another universe. He did say though if we travelled through, we probably couldn't come back to our own, so I'm not sure if I'd want to go. Ooh, coming into number number 6, we have every outcome / the cat theory. So let me tell you about Schrodinger's cat. This is a thought experiment and paradox that could imply multiple outcomes. So the experiment is thus: if you place a cat and something that could kill the cat in a box and you seal it, you would not know if the cat was alive or dead until you open the box. So, until the box is opened, the cat, in a sense, is both alive and dead. Are you with me? You might not be when I say the next sentence, but let's just say it anyway. So, electrons, little subatomic particles found in all atoms, can spin both forwards and backwards, but they can't spin in each direction at the same time. They choose an outcome. So, the cat could both be alive and dead, or actually, maybe it's both. According to the parallel universe theories of Everett and Davis, the act of observation makes a universe diverge, and both universes can exist. There's one where the cat's alive and one where the cat's dead. They both come into existence. Every decision or situation could create a different outcome. It creates a diversion in the current universe, making for more parallel universes. Universe I? Does it make sense? I guess the mind kind of boggles, but let me give you an example. There could be a universe out there where I didn't move to Canada, and obviously the world that I'm living in where I did. Obviously, for me, the difference in those two outcomes would have been very, very different, but then perhaps there's a world in which I decided to wear pink today and not yellow, which would still be different, but maybe less dramatically so. Or so I think. Who knows? Coming into number 5, we have the interaction. Michael Hall authored a paper on quantum theory, which includes the concept of every outcome. The cat both exists and doesn't exist, we just talked about this. Hall and a team from the Griffith University in Australia not only believe in the multiverse, but they believe that it interacts with our reality. They believe that infinite multiple worlds overlap and occupy the same region of space and time simultaneously. They think that the other worlds have subtle influences on our own. For example, strange occurrences, miracles, according to the interaction theory, are as a result of the parallel universes. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought that actually your reflection didn't quite match up? Is it the multiverse? Coming in at number 4, we have the Mandela effect. This is classic parallel universe theory, and honestly, this one does freak me out the most because I guess we've all had one of those moments of thinking, damn, I swear that wasn't the way I remembered it. So let me explain. The Mandela effect is the name given to multiple shared but factually wrong memories. There are a bunch of people out there that remember freedom fighter and former president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela, dying in prison in the 1980s, except he didn't. He died in 2013. Similarly, some people staunchly swear that the Bernstein Bears was spelt with an E and not an A, and honestly, I thought that the Looney Tunes were the Looney Tunes until I watched a video about the Mandela effect last year, and I was really confused because tunes doesn't even make any sense, does it? They're cartoons. Why? Other people also swear that Sex and the City was Sex in the City, but it wasn't, unless you were living in the universe that it was. So yeah, the theory goes that you were right, you're just from a parallel universe where those subtle differences were in effect. I suppose this could also feed into the interaction theory. Coming into number 3, we have the bruises and cold spots of the universe. Stephen Feeney of University College in London announced that he had discovered patterns of radiation background left over from the Big Bang that seemed to suggest that our universe bumped into none other than 4 other universes at some point in its lifespan and is left bruised. 4. Bruised. Similarly, astronomers have found so-called cold areas of the universe. Now, these CMB cold spots are areas of the observable universe that we have interpreted in microwaves. Now, they seem to be unusually, well, cold. Many people call one particular area the Great Void. Now, it seems that this area of space-time contains 10,000 less galaxies than other areas of a similar size in space that have been studied. A lot of people, including scientists from the University of Durham, believe this to be evidence of a parallel universe that is smashed into ours, or are they overlapping? Is this, once again, the great interaction that we talked about? Coming in at number 2, we have dreams and the unconscious. Some people think that dreams and the time spent unconscious allows us to access a parallel universe. This is why we dream in 3D. Again, this is why dreams sometimes don't always make sense, because not every universe may have the same laws of physics that we do. This is why we often dream of people that are no longer in our lives, that we haven't seen for years, because perhaps in a parallel universe they're still around you, or so the theory goes. Now, this theory seems to be held as a belief by some First Nations tribes, and I don't know, maybe there is something to it. Building on from this, at number 1 we have coma stories. So this actually does get pretty crazy. Sleep is one thing, but extended periods of sleep or unconsciousness allow for people to access the parallel universe for a longer period of time. Maybe. There was a really sad story posted on Reddit by Tempt to Sassoon 7 years ago. Now they were involved in an accident and they were unconscious for a while, but during that period of unconsciousness, they lived 10 years of a different life. Now in the story they say that he met a woman, he loved the woman, they ended up getting married, they had 2 kids, and they were happy. They were living an almost perfect life. But one day, he noticed that something was wrong with the lamp in his living room. It was kind of melting and contorting in some way. It was after 3 days of staring at the lamp and many worried conversations with his wife that actually he came to the realization that the lamp wasn't real. It started to invert and take up his entire perspective until all he was aware of was red hot pain. Now he awoke from his period of unconsciousness and discovered that the 10 years that he'd spent with his wife and children simply weren't real. He dreamed it all up somehow. He said he spent the next 3 years of his life in a state of severe depression, grieving the loss of a wife and child that actually just weren't real. He thought he was going insane. He said, "I've had many personal messages describing similar experiences and 3 posters stating such experiences are impossible. I'd say that there needs to be more research done into brain function. Pre-med students, don't assume you know everything." Honestly, I don't know what it was about that story, but it really got to me. It was kind of horrifying and creepy. But the young man, did he simply awake in a parallel universe? This is just one story of many. I've read a lot of coma stories like this where people think that they've lived other lives. I don't know. Has anyone seen the TV show The OA, for example? They talk about that a lot. Is it a sign of a parallel universe? Honestly, I feel a bit creeped out.
To start off this list, we have bright spots. This is something that Dr. Ragnar Ramcherry says is evidence of other universes. To explain this, I gotta kick back in time, way back before the Earth existed, but Kanye was already making fire music. A theory about the birth of the universe and the possible multiverse is that they all came from the same source, an infinite flat space where the multiverse was born. It's a possibility that all these universes were born at the same time, and due to a never-ending amount of variables, they all evolved in different directions. We can see the evidence of the birth of the universe through cosmic microwave energy that is picked up through the universe. Certain areas of these cosmic microwave signals burn brighter than the rest. These are called bright spots. Now going back to Dr. Ragnar Ramcherry, he believes that these bright spots are from different atomic makeups of other universes leaving their mark on ours. So at the birth of the multiverse, each universe left a little piece in each other one. Think of it as sharing a womb with an infinite amount of twins, and then when you all got fired out of your mama, you all bumped into each other, leaving birthmarks on each other. I bet there's a physicist out there who's like, that is the dumbest explanation of the universe I have ever heard.
Coming in at number 9 is the Philadelphia experiment. Now this was an alleged military experiment that the US Navy did back in October of 1943. Now the point of the experiment was to try and create some type of technology that could make ships invisible to radar detection, which would have come in clutch because I mean World War II was just happening, you know, casually in the background happening. Now the experiment was apparently successful because they made the US Navy destroyer escort, that USS Eldridge, cloaked or invisible to any enemy device. But it didn't just become invisible, apparently it transported into another dimension and reappeared in New York. That interdimensional travel resulted in tons of the crew on board dying. Now many of them were even found fused to the ship's hull because obviously our bodies don't know how to react to that kind of travel. The ones who didn't die were driven to the brink of insanity, so all in all, I don't know how much of a success it really was. According to a theory from Dr. John von Neumann, people are born with a time reference point that is directly linked to the electromagnetic fields unique to this dimension and this Earth. So when that crew drastically jumped to another time reference point, it became detrimental to their health.
Ho ho! None of your business, dog. At number 8 we have Cloud City, not the place from Star Wars where friendship died and then the entire series just kind of ignores it. Like dude, you sold out your best friend to bounty hunters, Luke lost his hand, that is ice cold, bro. But instead we're gonna focus on this strange phenomenon. Back on October 27th of 2015, a city in the clouds appeared out of nowhere above the city of Foshan, China. Some people thought it might have been an optical illusion, but when you take the time to look at it, it's hard to debate. Doesn't it look like a line of skyscrapers hovering in the air like Michael Jordan jumping from the 3-point line?
This video surfaced out of China, and it looks like their city is floating in the clouds. Of course,
Now you can say this is some sort of hoax thrown up on the internet and millions of people didn't see it. However, a few days later, another city in the clouds was seen over the Chinese city of Jiangxi. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, beings from another parallel universe are gonna come over, and I hope they're super hot and love black guys. There have been people trying to explain what happened through some sort of mirage effect, but there are Cloud City truthers that believe what they saw that day was another universe reaching out to ours. Maybe we're not alone.
Hi guys, I'm back after Che Roundhouse kicked me. Still pretty as ever. Now filling our number 7 slot is William Cantello, or is it Hiram? Born in 1839, William Cantello was a British inventor whose newest invention at the time was a rapid-firing machine gun. One day he told his sons he was going to the market to try and sell his new invention, cause gotta get that moolah, you know what I mean? I get you, William, I get you. But mysteriously, that was the last time anyone saw William ever again. His sons hired a private investigator who theorized that maybe he moved to America, but that was proving difficult to find evidence for. Now here's where it gets weird. Now fast forward 20 years, an American inventor by the name of Hiram Maxim also invented a firing machine gun, and that wasn't the only similarity between the two. Hiram was nearly identical to William, so much so that William's own sons mistook Hiram for their dad. In his autobiography, Hiram went on about how there was definitely a man out there that was impersonating him, meaning he could have been dealing with being mistaken for William for quite a while. Now, what if Hiram Maxim was the alternate parallel version of William Cantello? The theory of parallel universes includes the fact there are parallel versions of us in the other universes, so what if the universe just glitched and Hiram and William just both ended up in the same universe? It's either that or they're doppelgangers, one or the other.
Hey guys, at number 6 we have black holes. I ordered a movie titled Black Holes once, surprisingly very little science in it. It seems the movie was more about the durability of the human spirit. But the real black holes, the ones formed from stars collapsing, not empty bank accounts, those ones are still a mystery to the scientific community. We are constantly gaining information on them, but exactly what they are and what happens when something passes through them is unknown. This is because anything that is sent into them is ripped apart by the intense gravity that they create. But the brilliant mind of Stephen Hawking thought otherwise. If something is destroyed in our universe, then there will always be a trace of it. Matter can't just be evaporated into nothing. And if you trace the path of something getting sucked into a black hole, it will eventually vanish. Dr. Hawking believes this is because the mass in question isn't destroyed but transported, possibly to another universe. So what we need to do is find someone brave enough to get shot out of a rocket into a black hole and then give us a call from the other side. It's that simple. Just make sure they're not with AT&T because they'll never get a signal.
Now at number 5 is Gavin. Good old Gavin. We love a bit of Gavin. So this story was shared on Reddit by the user Theus_Eus, who said this happened when he was 16 years old. He was a bit of a self-proclaimed nerd and ended up befriending a dude named Gavin. Now they soon became BFFs, playing World of Warcraft together, going to each other's houses and chilling, etc. You know the drill. BFFs, ASAP Rocky. Now one day the user decided to go to Gavin's house uninvited, which he now retrospectively agrees was a dick move. It's okay, we all make mistakes. Either way, he knocks on the door and this 40-year-old man answers. He had some grey hair but looked eerily like Gavin, so he just assumed it was his dad. But then he remembered Gavin didn't have a dad, so he was like, probably just a relative. He asked him if Gavin was home and the man replied saying he was Gavin. The user was confused and went on saying, no, I'm looking for the 16-year-old Gavin, and the man started looking uneasy and quickly claimed Gavin wasn't home. He told him to come back at a certain time, and so the user did. This time it was his friend Gavin at the door, and he told him about meeting his relative beforehand. Gavin then looked shocked before saying he didn't have a relative named Gavin and that he was home at the time he had come. So who the hell was that Gavin? Was it alternate parallel older Gavin? Does older parallel universe Gavin live in that house from like 9 to 5 and then the 16-year-old Gavin takes over after? Like what is happening? The two boiled it down to a parallel universe glitch and that perhaps the user met the same Gavin from a different universe.
At the number 4 spot we have the Hadron Collider. This is one of the most advanced machines known to man, and it was built to find particles that were previously speculated, like sparticles, also known as superparticles, or the Higgs boson particle found in 2012. This is a giant ring that fires particles at each other at an atomic level, causing them to smash into each other, answering the age-old question, what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? Well, it might unlock proof of other universes. It's long long been speculated that through this machine we'll be able to find particles that are from another dimension. They will have the same properties as the particles from our dimension, but be slightly off, like in having more mass. If these experiments are successful in their findings, this would then be the greatest scientific achievement of our time and give us hard evidence that other universes exist.
At number 3 we have shadow people. Now let's discuss some smart people and what they've said in the past. Now Einstein said there are 4 dimensions, 3 of space and 1 of time, with the property of being able to bend light. Insert Stephen Hawking here, who said light and matter only confined to the membrane of 1 dimension, which then would make interdimensional travel plausible and possible. Space-time can bend light, which means technically we may be able to see the shadows of people from other dimensions and they see ours. Mind blown. I hope my shadow looks good. Hope it looks thick. I'm not trying to have space-time rob me of my gains. You know what I mean? You guys know what I mean. Now apparently many people have seen these shadow people, including a woman who grew up in Dorchester, Massachusetts. She shared that when she was young it was her first time sleeping in her new room, and while she was in bed she saw this unnaturally shaped tall shadow on the wall. And that in and of itself isn't that weird, I know, but then the shadow stepped off the wall and glided around the room, and according to her the shadow was wearing glasses. She saw another 3 shadow people near her closet, and freaking out she went to sleep with her grandparents. Tactical child escape, I like it, we all did it. Either way, she adamantly believes that night she saw dimensional travelers or shadow people who were most likely seeing her as a shadow person on the other side.
And at the number 2 spot we have the double slit experiments. So I'm gonna start off the top by saying this one confused the hell out of me, so if I don't explain it right, I'm sorry, just read a book about it or something. I'm going to do my best. The experiment was performed by Clinton Davidson and Lester Germer between the years of 1923 and 1927. They started the experiment by setting up 2 walls. They had one with a slit in it, so at the front, and the other one behind it, a solid wall. They then shot tennis balls through the slit, which created a line on the back wall where the tennis balls hit it. They then created 2 slits in the walls, fired tennis balls through both of those, creating 2 lines on the back wall. Next they did the same thing but firing electrons, and they expected them to act the same way as the tennis balls by making 2 lines, but instead they made a series of lines as if they were waves going through, interfering with each other. This could have been because the electrons were interacting with each other as they passed through. So they fired the electrons one by one so they couldn't interact with each other, but they still made a series of lines. When this experiment was performed with a camera set up to observe the electrons, they then started making 2 lines like the tennis balls did. I'm still confused about this, but from what I read this could be happening because other universes are interfering with our own and we just don't have the technology to detect them. Another paper suggested that it could be us observing the electrons that is changing their pattern, as if we influence them with our minds. So the 2 options are other dimensions or psychic powers. Pretty cool.
It's me, little old me, back for number 1, and number 1 is The Lost Woman. And I don't know how I've never heard this story before based on how many top 10s I've done, but better late than never, let's face it. Now Utsuro Bune is one of the oldest Japanese legends ever, and it deals with interdimensional entities and UFOs. In 1803, a hollow ship washed up on the shore of Hitachi province. It was made from metal and wood and had crystal windows, which was quite expensive back in the 19th century, so where the hell did they get that from? Either way, inside the ship, locals found a young, attractive woman. She had pale skin, neon red hair, and white hair extensions. Despite her being the one freaking the locals out, she was equally terrified of them as well. They took her into town and discovered she spoke a language no one could recognize, and all she kept doing was holding this bizarre box. Inside her ship, they found a tiny water supply, 2 sheets, and a bread pastry of some kind. There was even writing on the ship that was reproduced, but the language couldn't be recognized anywhere in the world. Baffled on what the hell to do with her, fishermen put her back on her ship, and her vessel just drifted back out to sea. And you'd think this was actually just a myth, and I'd usually agree, but this same exact woman was seen landing off of Japan's shores countless times. Like, this hoe just kept coming back for more. I know our first instinct would be to think she was an alien, but because of her very human-like appearance, many speculate that she was just a person lost in the wrong dimension. Now, the first time she was lost, but the rest of the time she probably just came back to explore and just gloat about her hollow ship.
Starting us off like we always do, in at number 10, have you guys ever heard of the man from Tord? Well, this might actually be a real life time traveler. And this isn't just any time traveler. This is a time traveler who might have come from a parallel universe very similar to ours. Let me tell you guys this story. Back in 1954, officials at a Tokyo airport in Japan were confronted by a traveler from Europe with a passport from a country called Torrid. If you guys look on any map and search Torrid or try to search for it, well, you'll notice that it actually doesn't exist. So obviously this has to be a fake passport, right? But why would someone create a fake passport with a made-up country? I mean, it's pretty silly. So officials looked more into this claim. The man from apparently Torrid seemed very angry for the holdup, and he was serious when he told officials where he was from. When he was asked to show on a map where this place is located, he wasn't able to exactly point to it because it wasn't labeled, but it was located around here. He circles a place called Andorra. The man stated that this is his third trip this year to Japan from his company that's located in Torrid, his country. He said Torrid has been a country for thousands of years, but officials could not find proof of this claim. The man was taken into a nearby hotel where he was closely monitored while officials figured out this man's story. Like, what is going on? He did have a passport that showed Torrid on it, and the strange thing is this passport actually looked like an official one. Well, the next morning this man seemed to have just disappeared, and there's no way out of the hotel room without being seen. He was surrounded the whole time and monitored. Also, all of the paperwork the officials took in also seemed to disappear. I mean, is this real life right now? Apparently this is a 100% true story. I personally don't believe it myself. I'm pretty sure there's a movie out there based on this as well, based on a true story it says. It's insane. Could this man actually be from a parallel universe? Well, that's a question we may never have answered. From there, at number 9, let's talk about the Mandela effect. Well, this is a theory that maybe some of us have been living in an alternate universe. The Mandela effect is when you think something is one way, but as it turns out, it's something completely different. It's like an alternate reality for some of us. For an example, take a look at this. Do you guys think it's Looney Tunes or Looney Tunes? Is it spelled T-U-N-E-S or T-O-O-N-S? Let me know in the comment section below. I'll give you guys a few moments. Go down there, let me know what you guys think, and I'm gonna reveal it right now. Well, if you guys said Looney Tunes, T-O-O-N-S, well, you might be from a parallel universe because you're wrong. But how scary is that? Like 50% of the population is wrong. Are we all from a different universe? I thought it was T-O-O-N-S. There's no way it's T-U-N-E-S. Here's another one. Is it Berenstein Bears or Berenstein Bears? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, is it Oscar Mayer or Oscar Mayer? Is it Skechers or Skechers? Well, let me know all your guys' answers in the comment section below. Number 8, let's move on to a woman from a parallel universe. I'm talking about Lorena Garcia Gordo. Well, this is her story. On the morning back in 2008, she woke up to discover that there was differences in her life. Differences that made her really wonder if she woke up in another universe. When she woke up, her sheets were a different color. Well, maybe she forgot that she changed her sheets, so not a big deal here. Well, get this. When she went to her office job, a place that she's worked at for the past 20 years, that's when she really noticed like differences. She noticed new people, and she worked for a different department. She was very confused, so she actually called an ex-boyfriend she dated 6 months ago, and she was with this person for 7 years. But when she called the number, she discovered that it wasn't her boyfriend's phone number, and the person she was looking for actually doesn't exist. And at one point she thought maybe she was drugged or had alcohol in her. She's very confused. She's not in the right state of mind due to the drugs. So she went to the doctors and tests showed that there was nothing inside of her. Lorena had all these memories that apparently never happened. She told her family she remembered a shoulder surgery that her younger sister had, but she asked her and that never happened as well. Her family thought she was going crazy. No one could figure out what was going on and how she has all these different memories that just never happened. I mean, detailed memories. Did she wake up in an alternate reality or a parallel universe? This is also something known as the Mandela effect that I was telling you guys about. It's when you remember a lot of things differently that has happened that it actually hasn't happened. But how do you remember a younger sister having surgery and she never did? I mean, I don't think that is part of the Mandela effect. At number 7, we have the boy who lived before.
He used to say when I was a girl I had black hair, or he'd say I used to have earrings like that when I was a girl.
The stay-at-home mom wondered where was he getting these ideas. Luke's answer changed their lives forever.
Well, this is Luke, who is from Ohio, and he believes he was reincarnated. His past life was a woman named Pam. He said that he died in his past life and he went up to heaven and then he was reborn again to what you guys see right now, Luke. Well, kids say the darndest things, but Luke's mom was really confused. So she tested Luke in his memory of Pam, and what was revealed was very scary. He said that he died in a fire in Chicago. He said he jumped out of a building. Listen to this.
In March 1993, a massive fire raced through the property, trapping most residents. 19 died, including a woman in her 30s named Pamela Robinson.
Pam had jumped out of a window to her death. I was really kind of weirded out by it at this point.
Is this real life right now? I don't even know how I would feel after confirming Luke's story that he remembers everything about his past life. This kid is only 5 years old. I know they have imaginary stories, but this one went into great detail. He was continuing to be tested and he was shown a bunch of images of random people. One of them was Pam. She was mixed in there and he was easily able to pick her out and said, she looks very familiar.
And he pointed to the correct one.
So Pam. Took me a couple days to wrap my head around it. I couldn't sleep. I thought about it constantly.
The family then looked into Pam's life to see if this is actually a real person, and she was. And then they started comparing her life to his life, and there was way too many similarities.
That Pam was a big like Stevie Wonder fan, and Luke like really likes that era of music. She played the keyboard a lot. And one of the things that Luke, his favorite toy at the time was this little tiny piano that he would tote around with them.
Alright, number 6. This one isn't a story, but it's more of a theory. So let's talk about the theory of having infinity universes. This theory actually scares a lot of people. I mean, the idea that our universe is just so minuscule in comparison to the infinite amount of universes. There's an idea that at any moment our universe could just be erased like in an instant. It's almost like, just imagine the real life Thanos snap, and then boom, everyone on Earth became the victim. There's actually a phobia called aperiophobia. This is a fear of infinity, or even the fear of living forever. Would you guys be afraid if you can live forever? Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on that. For me, I'm not sure how it would feel. I mean, everyone around you would just be moving on to the afterlife, and you're just kind of here on Earth. Stephen Hawking believed we can live in multi-universes, and it was actually his last paper he wrote before he passed away. So is this idea really that crazy? Well, I'll let you guys be the judge of that. Number 5, we have Godness Allison. She's a YouTuber who has claimed she indeed traveled through time. She went through another timeline.
Hello everyone, Goddess Allison here, and today I'm going to be talking to you about parallel timelines or parallel universes. And the reason for this is because I visited a parallel timeline.
She was taken into another world, and this took place in 2016 in October. She was taken early in the morning between 3:30 a.m. to about 6:30 in the morning. Well, Goddess spent 3 days in an alternate universe where she stayed in a hospital for 3 days. I think this parallel universe is called the Psychiatric Center. Well, this is a really scary story because people do believe that they have traveled into another universe. And wait till you guys hear about the kid who can actually prove that he lived in another time frame as another person. He's coming up at number 1, so make sure you stay tuned. Well, going back to Goddess for a moment, while watching her video, it's very confusing. I don't know anything she's talking about because I'm not that smart of a person, but to me it kind of sounds like she might be making some things up.
I think after having this experience, I think that we all live in one same universe that operates on the same laws of physics and quantum physics, on the same laws of perhaps geometric fractal, that of the plutonic solids that fit inside each other.
Okay, my brain kind of hurts with all of that information, so let's move on. Number 4.
What I'm about to tell you is something that I haven't even told my children, nor my grandchildren. My own wife doesn't even know what I'm about to tell you.
So this is Alexander Smith, who claims that he has traveled to the year 2118. That's about 99 years into the future. That is absolutely insane, but kind of cool. I would have so many questions for this guy, like, did Elon Musk actually make it to Mars? Did we become cyborgs? Is YouTube still around? Is Top 10 channel still around? Well, this guy's pretty lucky to have the opportunity to know what the future unfolds.
We didn't know if it would work. sat me in a small room and we had many meetings. I had meetings with various scientists telling me what to expect, telling me what to do during the process of the actual time traveling itself.
This guy actually believes that the government and secret scientists, like the secret society, actually sent him to the future. Number 3, I really don't believe that time travel is real, but then again, there's been events in history and even stories that people have told that might show small signs that traveling to another universe or time traveling might actually be plausible. Have you guys ever seen this picture right here? Well, it's a black and white picture, but if you guys look right over here, you guys will notice that this woman is holding something. Well, that something is a cell phone. Well, let me put this into perspective for you guys. This picture was taken in 1938. Cell phones were invented by Martin Cooper in 1973. He was only 10 years old in 1938, so how was this picture even taken? Well, how does that woman have that cell phone? Phones weren't even thought of. There are many conspiracy theories and scary stories that surround this woman, and why or how she has a cell phone. It doesn't make sense. No one even knows who this woman is. This is a very interesting picture that is just simply unexplained. Maybe she's a time traveler and Alexander Smith might have actually traveled to the year 2118. Number 2, we have Paul Dinac, who is a Swiss language teacher who went into a coma from 1921 to 1922. When he came out of his coma, he shared a fascinating story with the world. Well, he didn't directly share it. Let me explain. When he came out of his coma, he said that he traveled to the year 3906 AD as a man named Andrew Northman, who was a famous physician. When he woke up, he acquired a great understanding of physics, and he went on to write down his experience in a book he published titled Valley of the Roses. He talked about what the future was like. Earth was able to colonize Mars in about 200 years, but there was a tragedy to the 20 million people living on Mars. So I guess that kind of answers the question we had before. Did Elon Musk reach Mars? I guess it's a no. And if everyone dies on Mars, maybe we should try and colonize somewhere else. The scary part about this whole thing is the fact that Paul's journal entry, which was very detailed, he actually didn't want anyone to read them or even know about them. It was only when he gave his journals to his students they released it to the public, and that's when Paul's story was known. Can this story be real? I guess we're gonna have to wait 200 years to find out if this man was right. Finally, number 1, we have yet another boy, Cameron, who has memories of a past life. Now, this gets crazy. And he's also 5 years old, which is actually the same age as the boy Luke we talked about on this list at number 7. Well, since Cameron was able to talk, he started talking about a past life, a life that took place 220 miles away from where he lives.
I lived in the White House with my mum and dad and my 3 brothers and sisters.
The big problem with that story is that Cameron only has 1 brother. So who is he talking about? As Cameron got older, his story remained the same. It only got more detailed. He remembers his former parents' name. Many doctors and experts have actually taken interest in this fascinating story. Psychologists has even met with them. They met with Cameron and the family to find out if the story is real or maybe it's just all made up.
Really interesting. Basically, how Cameron describes his world really seems to be quite different from how children with imaginary friends and imaginary worlds describe their experiences.
Cameron, as he got older, kept asking his mom if they can visit where he used to live, and the family over time just said, yeah, let's go. Well, they traveled 220 miles away to the small town to see what would happen, to see if what he's saying actually exists. The mother thought maybe this would convince Cameron that this is just a fantasy in his head, and this past life, yeah, it never happened. Well, he remembered everything. They actually found the house that he described in much detail. If you guys want to see the full documentary, it's really fascinating to me, it's really interesting to me. Well, it's called The Boy Who Lived Before. Check it out on YouTube, it's really good.